Hello, everyone. My name is Kashawn Hopkins. I'm an instructional technology specialist from Oklahoma Public School Resource Center, and today I'm here to talk about Trello. Trello is a web-based visual management tool. You can use it to create little boards and cards so you can track tasks. It's really good for tracking goals and breaking them down into smaller chunks and trying to make sure that you have a pretty good plan on accomplishing those tasks. And even though this tool's popularized in kind of the business sectors and project management, I think this tool can be applied in educational settings to great success here. I am also joined here in this tech talk with my colleague. I think you should get to know him, and I want to yield some time for him to introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Kurt Bernhardt, Technology Director for OPSRC. Sean and I make up the technology team. We're here to help you with any of your technology needs, whether it's broadband or devices in the student's hands. Just reach out to us, and Kashan will tell you how to do that.
I would recommend if you do want to reach out to us, do it through our email, techteam@opsrc.net. That's spelled TECHTEAM at opsrc.net. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Moreover, if you want access to these slides, whenever I put together these tech talks, I try to put together a set of resources. So if you want to revisit any topics or anything that I talk about here, or extend any of your learning, you can do so through these slides. So I try to make it accessible in a bunch of different ways, one of which is this link that I've highlighted here. It's case sensitive, so I'm going to read it out. It's lowercase t period ly/lowercase c uppercase v 1 lowercase a. Or you can go to our website. It's brand spanking new right now. It looks pretty good. opsrc.net/technology. If you go there, you can see our new technology page here. You can scroll through and see the tech talks. You can submit a topic if you feel strongly about a tool or certain technology idea. I'd love to do some more research on different things, expand my knowledge here, and share what I learn with all of you. We have a nice little calendar that you can sign up for events. There are Eventbrite links. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see there's a section for Tech Titans, which is Kurt's monthly webinar. We have special guests going through those, which we've had incredible people come in and talk about some awesome stuff like ChatGPT. So whenever we have more events on those, you'll hear about it, hopefully. And then at the bottom, we have the archive. Here you can see our previous Tech Talks and Tech Titans. If you click on any of the subjects here, you can see that we have a set of slides that go with each of them and a recording of them. So if you've missed out before or you just can't make it, this is a great place to catch not only Tech Titans, but also all of the Tech Talks, especially in the individual tech tools, very much like the one I'm doing right now. There's quite a bit of them. And so if you're interested in any of these tools, you can check out the recordings there. With that, what you've come here for is Trello. And so I want to give you an idea, if you're unfamiliar with what it looks like and how it works. I want to give you an example through one of the lovely templates that's included inside of Trello, the remote class template. If you go to that, you can see what Trello looks like, which is this view that I have here. And you can also see sort of the hierarchy. There's quite a bit of terminology that I'm going to throw at you. But once you realize how things are stacked inside of each other, it helps a little easier for navigation. So right now I'm working inside of the Trello workspace on the top left-hand corner. So a workspace is sort of your highest, like your most bird's eye view of all of your workflow here. Inside of the workspace, you can see down on the bottom left-hand corner are my boards. So you can think of these as like sort of folders, like filing cabinets inside of your workspace. Inside each individual board are these lists here. So you can see in this list for this class, a remote class that has been created, I have a list for resources, weekly assignments, lab projects, exam, and interface is really easy to work with. I can click and drag and resort these lists no problem to make it a little easier to view for me. And inside of each individual list is a card. You can see I have under weekly assignments. Each week is a card. And under each of those cards, you have things like little checklists. I can see there's a checklist with 8 items over it and a due date that's set on there that is responsive. So like if I set a due date and that due date is coming up, it will change colors and let me know that this is a more pressing matter that I need to take care of due to the time constraints. And when I click on the card, you can even see even further, it takes this card and breaks it down into this to-do list here. So I can see each step here and I can click and you can see it will cross things off for me on this checklist. And it even has a little nice little progress bar. So it's a fantastic thing of having a little to-do list there. And I can not only have that to-do list, but I can add things like attachments. I can put those dates on there. I could put labels on here, which will change the colors of the cards. There are things called power-ups, which I won't talk in detail here. But if you have integrations attached to this, like you can take advantage of Google Drive if you have attachments inside of theirs. You can pull that through the power-up. There's automation features, which is also beyond the scope of this. But yeah, if you want to really get into the advanced features, there's some really nice stuff out there. And on the board on the top right-hand corner, there is a share button. So Trello is not only useful for the individual using it, you can create this very much like this remote class template. You can create it with the intention of sharing it with other people. So they can either have a copy or they can follow along with a live board that's being updated by you. So lots of potential here, which we will crack open in a second. First of all, I want to give my objective for this tech talk. So we have a clear learning goal here. After this tech talk, educators will be able to integrate Trello into their classroom to help students track their assignments, projects, and resources. The schedule is fairly standard for my tech talks. I'm going to talk a little bit about the tool, just give you an overview, which I've already kind of started here with the example. Spend the majority of the time going over the tool in a showcase. After the showcase, I'll talk a little bit about integrating technology. I always like to have this piece part of my tech talks. So we have a clear plan of how can we possibly apply this tool in our classroom. And I'm going to combine the first 2 points into the third point, which is talking about specific tool applications, inviting you to imagine what would this tool look like inside of your classroom. And then for the last few minutes, we'll wrap up. I'll just point out where my resources are at the end of my slides, if we have some time, go over a few of them and share my evaluation and my appreciation. So with that, let's get started. First of all, an overview of Trello, a little bit of a definition. Like I said, it's a web-based visual management tool that uses boards, cards, and lists. If you are a little confused by the terminology, like what's inside of what, here on the next page, I have a little content hierarchy over here. You can see inside of this gray box to kind of help you out. Features that I think are good to point out. The hierarchy system, I think, is really good on taking large tasks and breaking it down into smaller and smaller manageable chunks, because that's how you get big goals done. And that is baked into the design of the tool itself, which I think is a big strength of it. You can set due dates on cards, which is good for having little notifications, reminders. Sometimes you just have so many tasks that you have to do that's hard to really tell which one is going to be the most pressing one, and due dates is a way to reinforce that. There's attachments you can put on there. There is a limit. There is a limited storage inside of Trello, but the files are limited to 10 megabytes. So perfect for PDFs, not great for like videos unless you have like a short, like a 1-minute clip or something like that, but that's available. Like you saw before, there's click and drag interface on here, member invites, so you can collaborate, perfect for that. You can color those labels, which you can also combine that with filtering. So you can specify things as a certain color. And so if you have so many different things to pay attention to, if you click the filter feature, there's some built-in features for that. There's a couple of integrations. I know for a fact there is Google OneDrive, I think Dropbox if you use that, and a couple of more. They classify them as power-ups, but some of them you can access directly if you log in. There's a template library, very much like the example that I showed you. I pulled that from. I mean, a majority of it is like focused on business and project management, but there is a section dedicated to education. So even Trello knows the usefulness of this tool in the right hands, especially the students. And then lastly, a limitation to keep in mind is that each workspace can only have 10 boards. I think that's really more than enough. Like one workspace is probably good for one person. And so if you want to, manage 6 different classes, like if you're using this as an educator, you can do that through that. You could probably put an entire workload for a student inside of one board. So really, this is fairly generous in terms of storage now. Keep in mind, I am using a free account on what I'm going to show you. There's a couple of features that are premium that I will point out once we get there. Finally, before we jump into Trello itself for the showcase, I have outlined a couple of first steps. If you want to follow along, you're very welcome to. I think these steps are really good in terms of if you've never used Trello before, you can walk yourself through at least enough steps to create a board, create a workspace first, then create a board, then build out that board, and then share it with your students. So I'm going to try to highlight enough to, if you wanted to use Trello, to introduce it to your class before you turn it over to your students so they can use it. I think this is a good way to go about that so you can input your own content. So let's do this. First of all, we'll go to, of course, where Trello is, trello.com. I'm going to log out here so you can see what the front page looks like. Yeah, log me out. Cool. Looks a little something like this, pretty standard for most tools. If you want to learn more about what Trello is about, I recommend that you check out the features drop-down box. It tells you quite a bit about it, and the resources section, of course. If you want to get your login taken care of, you can either sign up through your email for the homepage, or you can go up to where it says Get Trello for free. If you click on that, you can see that there's a bunch of different ways that you can log in, either through your email. Right now, I'm about to be using Google. If you have Microsoft, Apple, or Slack already, you can take care of it through that. But I'm going to skip that step. I already have an account. So that is where I'm going to sign in through the top right-hand corner, click on Login. If you want to sign in with your own, you're very welcome to, but I'm going to keep going here and click on Google, continue with Google, and sign in through the proper channels. Great. So I've logged in. My very first step will be to create a workspace. If you're creating an account for the first time, it will automatically pop up for you to create a workspace. You really can't do anything without doing that. Since I already have a workspace here, I will have to go up to the top navigation bar up here and click Create. It will ask me what I want to create. I want to create a workspace. And so your pop-up will look a little something like this. So from here, I'll put in my workspace name. I'll say, let's do OPSRC there. You can select a workspace type. So this is really for like, if you plan to make your workspace public, people could find it using this. So you're not really changing the functionality of your workspace. So don't think too hard on this. I'm just going to put education. And if you want, you can put a description, but I'll just leave that blank and press continue. Once you do that, it will ask you to invite people to this team. So I think if you are going to manage a space with co-teachers, or if you are in a professional learning community here, this is a great space if you want everybody to have access to all the different boards that you're working with here. I would not recommend inviting any students on a workspace level. Really, you want them on individual boards, managing the spaces there. So if you're just managing all the stuff yourself, you can just click I'll do this later. Otherwise, you can add in workspace members using their emails, but I'm just going to do I'll do this later. Great, that's step one. I've created a workspace. Step two, I need to create a board. Now, you can create it one of two ways. You can either start fresh. In fact, you can go and click that create button, and the very first option is create a board. Also, on the left-hand side, you have this left side navigation bar. You can see where it says your boards. You can click on create a board, or that plus symbol, also do the same thing. Or there's also lovely little templates here, which you specified that this is going to be used. This workspace will be used for education, so it's going to recommend education templates. So not only these are available, you can click on choose a category. You can switch that around if you want, or you can go up to templates. You click that drop-down menu. You can see some basic templates on here. Like I said, a lot of them is Bannet, business and project management. But those templates are popular and well used for a reason. It's a good way to get these goals accomplished here. If I click on explore templates, you can see the whole suite of lovely little templates here. So you can go to the education templates and scroll through. Great stuff in here, I think, just to peruse through and see what's out there. Okay, I'm going to put in the teaching weekly. Well, actually, no, I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to click on the plus button. I'm going to give it a job, my board title. I'm just going to call this my algebra class, something like that. You want to give it a background. There's some lovely ones already in here, or you could go for a nice simple gradient. There's more options on the three dots. I'm going to say this goes into the workspace for OPSRC, and the visibility is from a workspace level. So if I click on visibility, this is available to anybody that is a member of this workspace already. So that would be anybody that I invited when I created this board. And also there's a button up here, top right-hand corner, that I can add people in there. If you want to fine tune who has control, who can see you and access this board, you can make it private, no problem. You probably generally want to avoid making this public here, but I'm going to leave workspace alone since I'm the only one managing this workspace anyway, and click create. There we go. Now we have a board. Now I need to go on to build the board with actual content in here. So I've included a couple of steps here. Some of them are optional, I think, depending on what you're going to add into this board here. But first things first, I'm going to have to create a list. So maybe I'll have a start here list filled with like introductory content. Then I will put resources list, maybe something that I think students will always refer back to. And then maybe I'll say weekly assignments here. Boom. A couple of simple lists that I'm typing in. And then when I press enter, it creates the list for me. And you can see as I create enough lists, I have to start scrolling from left to right on here. So this is how you manage this. And probably the most important list would be the leftmost list. Next, after those lists, probably want to create some cards inside of the list that people can actually get into and click on. So I'm gonna start here. I'll have like, I'll click where it says plus add a card, and I'll say, here is where my welcome message is. And maybe I'll have an attachment that students have to sign. So this will be like classroom rules, maybe. All I'm doing is typing in a message and pressing enter, and it creates a card. Now, the card only has the title on here. There won't be an actual message in here until I click on the card itself. It will open it up, and this is where you can add all the fine details. A couple of details you can add. First of which is notifications. If you click on where it says watch, if you are collaborating with other people, you get notified every time an adjustment is made on the card. Detailed description, you have basic text formatting features on here. You can type messages or turn them into bullet points or bullet list here. Yeah, make a numbered list, add images, so basic stuff in there. Then you press save. You can write comments. I think that's useful if you have multiple people managing specific cards. I can put a label on here, and you can see the labels are associated with colors. Right now I have colorblind friendly mode on, which not only gives it the color, but it also gives it a little design that's associated with it. So I can label this as a green label if I'd like. If I want to, I can add a checklist. I click checklist, give it a little title. So do this before starting class. And then I add items into the checklist, just like how I would create cards. So I'll just type in the message. I'll say, read this document, sign the document, let Mr. Hopkins know, something generic like that. But these are the different steps that as the students work their way through, they can check off on here if they'd like, if they have a copy of this. And on the checklist, I can't do it on the individual items here. If I attempt to do that, it will ask me to start a free trial and pay for premium. But at the very least for the card itself, if you want to put a date on there, you just click on dates, select the date. I can adjust the time here. I can adjust when I'm reminded that this due date's coming up, and I can press save. Like I said before, I believe it's within 24 hours. If your due date's coming up, it will be labeled as due soon, and make it a little bit easier for you to track. Otherwise, you can make some adjustments from here. And then the last basic thing I think would be useful to know about these cards, if you can click a chat attachment, you can pull things from your computer or from Trello directly that you've downloaded, or other common cloud-based storage services on here. You can also do it through power-ups, but it's a little bit more involved. You do need to set it up, but I mean, from there, once you set your power-up up, it works for your board pretty consistently. But if you just want to do it through here and through attachments, excuse me, that's a-okay. Okay. Other things to know about managing your board here. There we go. When you're managing your board, if you put something accidentally, I'm going to put week 1 in here. Let's say, for example, this card that I've built out inside of resources really needs to be under weekly assignments. So I can click and drag this item into that card, no problem. And it makes it really easy to reorganize it. Moreover, just to show off that filtering feature, if I label a couple of these with the green label, I can either do it inside of the card. I believe you can do it also on this little pencil symbol where it says week 3. Click edit labels and make it green. There we go. So I've labeled 3 items as green. And let's say, for example, I only want to look at the green items. So I'm going to go to the top right-hand corner, click where it says filter. And I can filter things down, either things that are assigned to specific people, or specific due dates, things that are overdue or due the next day, or things with specific labels. So there's already a bunch of built-in filters to make it much easier for you to manage certain items. So I can click on the green, and it will take all the card outs except for the ones that have been labeled in a specific way. And you can even mix filters together as well, things that are due the next day and also part of group green, which I think is good if you're managing a bunch of different things inside of a single board here. Top right-hand corner, if I click on, I see these little circles here. These represent the members that are a part of this board. If I want to invite people, I can click where it says share board. and I can put in emails. I can create a link and have people join as members. Now, something that is a little bit unfortunate is a part of the free account, you can't make people observers. So you have to be very careful when you invite your students in there that if you don't want them to touch whatever's going on here or make edits, unfortunately, you can't just make them observers. You have to make them members if you're using a free account there. There are restrictions that you can put on here, and I specify that over here. Step 3D, that you can go and adjust permissions for members. So the way you can do that, top right-hand corner, click on those three dots to get a menu. You go down where it says more, click on that. Then go down to where it says, settings. Go to settings. Where are my settings? Are there you are. And then you can adjust permissions. So things, what I would recommend that you change is commenting permissions. You disable that, add and remove permissions. You make that only for admins. And then where it says allow workspace members to edit and join, you turn that off. Those three settings should help you make restrictions. It won't stop students from editing, but you can go over where it says the three dots there. I'm going to go back one more time. There is an activity section down here. So you can see if anybody makes an edit, you'll know exactly who it was and where they did it. Yeah, and then you can work from there. All right. I think that is it for right now in terms of showing what the tool is capable of. Something that I do want to talk about with a little bit of the time that I do have left is how to a potential way to integrate this tool inside of your classroom in a way that's meaningful, not only to you, because clearly I think educators can use it, but I think this tool in the students' hands can be very powerful in terms of giving them a way to organize themselves and the incredible workloads that is placed upon them and giving them a clear path, and a path that I feel like is relatively rewarding on accomplishing their goals. And so I just want to wrestle with the question of how to integrate technology for a second. I think there's a bunch of different ways to answer that question, but one of the ways that I would recommend taking a look at is the technology integration matrix. I know it looks fairly complex, but the idea is that there are 5 different levels of technology integration illustrated by the columns here, starting from the least complex from the left, going to the most complex to the right. And then there are 5 aspects or 5 characteristics of a learning environment that you can take a look at in terms of using a tool for technology integration, using it in your class. The 5 different characteristics are this: active, collaborative, constructive, authentic, and goal-directed. Each of them have their sort of own properties here, but I think Trello is an excellent example of the goal-directed characteristic. So I'm going to pluck that one and talk about it, and do it under the lens of talking about specific applications for Trello on what that would look like inside of a classroom. First of all, to loosely define goal-directed. In fact, I actually did a tech talk about this, expanding on what does it mean to have goal-directed learning. But the basic idea is students are setting their goals, planning their activities, monitoring their progress, evaluating those results. So through here, we'll do a little activity. We'll look at this characteristic, and you can do this with any of the other characteristics and any other technology tools, and go through what's called take it up a level. I've included a link on a full description of this, but I'm going to walk you through the basic steps here. First, you identify where you are at with this tool at your classroom. So you could use it. You can do this with a tool that you've already been using before, but the first thing is identify where you're at. If this is a completely new tool, then your students are at the entry phase, which is characterized by passive use of the tool. So this is the lowest level of using this technology tool, and not a bad place to start in terms of exposing your students to this technology tool. So entry phase is characterized by passive use of the tool. So an example of this is you creating a board, very much like we did in this tech talk, and then having students join it. So that way they can see what Trello looks like. They can see how you use it. You're the model here. but this is the lowest form of technology integration because you really the educator is in charge of how the tool is used, and you're really just telling students how it's done. Um, Once you feel like your students are comfortable with it, or you think that you can see specific places where you can take advantage of the tool, then I recommend you bump them up to the adoption phase, which is characterized by conventional use of the tool by the students. So this is when you start putting it in their hands. Students are building their own boards, but the teacher is still in control of how that tool is being used. So you can define specific activities or have them work through different templates and just make a couple of some of those basic moves here, creating cards, making attachments, setting due dates, maybe help guide them through creating a little class schedule for themselves. And really that's just to get them familiar with the scope of the tool and the limitations. And if there's an issue, if the student gets confused or needs a little extra help, you can provide that support in there. Once you've given students enough time, then you can bump them up to the adaptation phase, which is characterized by independent use of the tool. In this case, students choose how they want to use the tool, and the teacher acts more of a facilitator. Like if the students need help or direction, you can kind of point them, but you're really just pushing them, and they're going to be in charge of how the tool is going to be used here. I think this would be good in a project-based type setting here. I mean, it's what Trello is created for, is that. And so students are given a project, maybe they're collaborating together with a couple of other students, and they're using this tool to take one large task, break it down into manageable pieces, and then work that project to its completion. And if students get stuck along the way, that is where you step in. But hopefully, if you've done the other steps here and move them up a little every time they get comfortable, you'll be able to get the most use out of this tool. With that, that is the end of the tech talk. I appreciate anybody listening to this. Hopefully you can see the benefits and the applications of this tool. I think it's a fantastic tool in terms of, just taking a workload and making it more manageable and also making it less stressful. I think it's a worthy investment of your time and your students' time as well. So if you want more information, I have a resource page dedicated to get starting guides. There's a fundamentals course. It's 90 minutes long. You do have to sign in with an account, but you can use the same account that you used to log into Trello. There's video playlists on here, lovely blog articles for ideas, examples on how people are using Trello in different spaces, and hopefully give you ideas for that. There's even this article that I've included that's not necessarily Trello specific. It's done through the lens of Trello, but I think it is really applicable to remote work in general. That I think is just a really good read. So I just felt compelled to include that in there. Next page is dedicated technology integration. If you like some of the ideas that I brought up during that section, I've included links to the technology integration matrix. There are other frameworks like TPAC. And of course, you want to take a look at ISTE standards to make sure that you're using technology appropriately in a way that is going to benefit your students. Finally, my last page. If you made it to this point, thank you so much for listening to me talk about this tool. I have a link to my evaluation on here. There's also a QR code on the right-hand side that links to the same thing. It will only take a minute or so, and it will help me make my tech talks better. I've been Kushan Hopkins. I'm joined here by Kurt Bernhardt. Thank you, Kurt. If you want to continue the conversation, not just about this technology tool, but really all parts technology, would love to have a conversation with you. You can get that started through our email, techteam@opsrc.net. Or if you like what you see here, you can see more tech talks in the future, and we have Tech Titans coming up on Kurt's side. You can access all of that through opsrc.net/technology. And if you want to connect to our community, maybe you already have been using Trello and you just want to learn something new. Awesome. Please share some of that stuff out. We would love to get you connected to our community engagement here, and you can do so through any of the social media buttons down over here. But I think that's it for me right now. So Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.